All right, hello. This is a little introduction video. Um, my name is Professor Dan Martin. You may see my name listed as Paul. That's my first name. So, of course, they list everything by your first name, but I go by Dan. So, Dan Martin, Professor Martin's fine. Let's see. Welcome to ENG 513, Composition Theory. We're basically going to learn about the history of composition. We'll look at like 140 plus years really quickly, but we'll basically move up to the 50s and 60s pretty quick because that's where a lot of the most relevant stuff happens. You'll be surprised, or maybe not so surprised, to realize that a lot of the teaching of composition hasn't changed much from the time it started in the late 1800s to about the 60s. Some people even argue that the 70s is when composition as a discipline and a field really began. But again, we'll talk about all of that all quarter. But again, this quarter, this class is about the history of composition. We'll try to learn as much as we can. It's going to be really hard to cover everything, to learn everything, to get in every theory. We'll try our best to cover what we can. But this in no way encompasses every single thing that you can know about writing studies theory and composition theory. So a little bit background on myself. I'm from Florida. I went to the University of Florida. I went to the University of Central Florida for my master's degree and my PhD. My PhD is basically in digital writing, composition, and rhetoric. I study digital writing, multimodal writing, composition programs, the history of composition programs, feedback on writing. Very interested in multimodal feedback and video feedback as well. Also been studying a lot of misinformation in digital writing environments. So that's basically my background. I taught at UCF for 15 years before I came here. I directed the Writing Across the Curriculum program there for several years. And I taught a lot of different writing courses from professional writing to multimodal writing and digital writing, things like that. And of course, the history of writing across disciplines and the history of composition. Let's see, I'm just going to check my notes so I don't miss anything too much. All right, so just to break down the course, I tried to make it as simple as possible because we're in a pandemic and we're online and things are still pretty stressful. So honestly, I'm trying to simplify it. We have one kind of major final project. Um, there's a lot of freedom with that project. I'll make a little video that you know overviews the description of the project and put it inside that assignment description, so you can just have another uh, set of words to help you understand it. But basically, it's a learning project. It asks you to essentially teach us something, about the history of composition that you find interesting, you find relevant based off of all the research and the readings that you've done. So that's kind of like the one main project. It's due at the very end. There'll be a couple little drafts of that project that we'll look at to help you shape it and work on it towards the end of the term. And then there are two smaller summary reviews of they're basically uh, scholar reports, 2 to 3 pages. There's two of them, basically midway through the quarter, and then 3/4 way through the quarter. You'll basically give a little report on a particular scholar in the field who you find interesting and relevant, and that you think we need to know a little bit more about because, obviously we can't cover everything, we can't learn everything. Um, Maybe there's something that you're noticing in the readings, a particular person or a particular idea that you think we need to all know a little bit more about. The scholar reports are basically an opportunity for you to teach us something a little bit more about someone in the field that we just haven't had a chance to learn more about. And that's really the same thing with the reading discussions. Graduate courses are primarily reading courses. There's just a lot of reading that goes on in these courses. So basically each week you've got a bunch of reading to do, and then I want you to produce some kind of response based off of that reading that teaches us something about what you've learned, something that we could use and reference and cite. The reading responses will be references and resources for your final project. Instead of going back and responding to every student's discussion response each week, and I'd rather you go back and read the responses and think about how you might be able to use those or reference those or cite those in your final project. And your final project will require you to cite some of your classmates' reading responses. And I'll talk about that more inside that assignment description. But I want you to see that the reading responses, the brief scholar reports that you create, there's just two of them. They're resources for all of us to learn more about composition theory, composition history, to learn a little bit more about some of the specifics that we can't get to. It's an opportunity for all of you to give us a little bit more insight into something that we're learning about each week. So I'd really like you to think of your reading responses as an opportunity to teach us something a little bit more about the readings, to get us to think about the readings in a different way. Whatever you think would be valuable or insightful. But that's basically it. That's the course. I mean, your readings are a big chunk of the course. Every week you've got a big chunk of readings to get through and to skim and scan. You've got a response to work on, and then you've got your final project, and then those two small composition scholar reports. And I think that's plenty of work to do for a 10-week online course during a pandemic. Again, it's important to remember that this is a learning course. I'm really interested in your learning, seeing your learning, rewarding your learning everywhere I can. So remember, that's really what this course is about. It's trying to learn as much as we can, without overwhelming ourselves. So normally I might have a couple other smaller assignments, but I really honestly think we can get the job done with these activities. I'm going to give you a video overview each week. They'll be much more shorter and conciser as we move through. But again, I'm trying to make this class as manageable as possible. Let me see, I'm just going to check real quick and make sure I've got just about everything covered. Yep, I think that is basically it. This is kind of a long intro, but it's great to meet all of y'all. I look forward to working with all of you. I want you to know that at any point we can talk, we can chat, I can set up a video conference, a Zoom conference, a phone call. You can cut the camera off and just use voice. Instant message, whatever you want to do. If at any point in this class, you want to meet, you want to talk face to face, that's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. Just let me know. I'm more than willing to sit down with any of you and chat about the course. So this is again just a little introduction video. Just wanted you to at least see my face, hear my voice. I look forward again to working with all of you. And I will see you again in a video at some point shortly. So have a good week, and I will talk to you in the online world. All right, bye-bye.